Hi, this is Andy from GPS Training. In this video, I just wanted to have a talk about the GPSMAP67i from Garmin that I've got in front of me, which is my personal unit, and just talk about my experiences and some feedback on how I've been getting on with the unit since I purchased it 15 months ago when Garmin first launched this device. I'm using the device mainly for hiking and trail running. It's just really to give you an idea why I went for this device and how we're getting on with it. So the device itself, you'll see it's quite a slim device. It's only 2.5 inches wide. Actually, if I put it in my hand, slips nicely, or sits nicely should I say, in the hand. This is one of the reasons I went for this device, especially for when I do trail running. I want something that's nice and comfortable to hold. With the built-in battery, the weight's only 230 grams, but it sits nicely in the hand. And also, when I put it in my backpack, I can use it in some of the slim pockets that I've got. We actually have a function on the device where you can lock the buttons so they don't accidentally get pressed when you've got it in a backpack pocket. So I've got some quite slim pockets that sit high up in front of me, so it's nice and easy to grab it if I put it in those pockets. I do also use our backpack tether to attach it on some of my bigger packs, but that was one of the main reasons I wanted something that was slim and not too big, but at the same time had a decent size colour screen. And it's also something that's robust and tough. This device has been put through its paces and been in some quite harsh environments over the last 15 months, and it's got an IP67 rating. There's no problem with getting splattered with mud, peat, snow, hail, everything else that I've thrown against it. Works really well in cold temperatures. The first event that I used it in, which actually was in the end of March last year, was a challenge where we did have temperatures just below freezing. We were actually waist deep at times in peat bogs. Not on purpose, I hasten to add. The unit got splattered in mud. It looked absolutely filthy after the event. We had hail, we had snow, everything you could throw at it. So actually having the button control is great for all weathers. I'm not worrying about a touchscreen when the mud and water can affect it. So that was another reason I went for this sort of device, because I'm running and hiking in all weather. So I like the ease of using the buttons to move between screens simply. The buttons are actually marked, so I've got buttons marked with what they're actually going to do. I can mark a waypoint here with a mark button, so they're nice and clearly marked, and they're really easy to use. Even with gloves on, I find I can get away with using the buttons, which is nice, especially in those colder temperatures. And it's a tough, robust unit. I don't on purposely drop the unit, but this one has been dropped a number of times over the last 15 months when I've not been careful. Picking it back out of the mud and just wiping the mud off it. It's been rinsed in water plenty of times to clean it when I've finished an event. And as you can see, as I turn it round, it's looking pretty good for 15 months of pretty harsh use. I have got a screen protector on. I hasten to add, I do actually recommend a screen protector. So that was one of the first things I went for: the robustness, the style, the shape, the weight of the unit. The next thing for me, with doing some events that go over 24 hours, an example, I've taken part in the Montane Spine, one of their races, which would have been 60 hours, and other similar events. I wanted something with really good battery where I wasn't worrying about having to charge it. Now, it does have a built-in battery, so you don't put your own batteries in. I do generally carry emergency power packs for my mobile phone anyway, but the battery life on this on paper from Garmin is potentially up to 165 hours, which is amazing. Now, I know that is with GPS only and not using the multi-band satellite, and it will depend on how often you've got the screen on. I've got the screen on permanently at the moment, but you can have it set so the screen goes off after, say, 30 seconds and you just press a button to bring it back on. But in all the events that I've done, in all sorts of weather conditions, I've looked after the events and thought, even in the worst case scenario, I was still going to get over 100 hours battery life. So I wanted something with great battery. Now you can see on the screen here I've got an Ordnance survey map on the screen. This is the 1 to 25 map. I like the detail of the 1 to 25 map because it shows field boundaries. So of course, one of the main reasons for buying this device for me is for navigation. I want to be able to load routes and tracks into it that I've either planned myself or downloaded from events, like an event that you're doing. A good example would be I'm actually doing one of our sister company Shepherd's Walks events next weekend. So I've already got the GPX file loaded on the unit. So I'm just going to actually load that one up now. So when I'm using it for navigation, what I really like is, the accuracy for one thing. I see this device down to 6 foot accuracy, so I know I'm getting an accurate signal of where I am. But also, I like the data that you can read when you've got a route or track loaded on your device. The sort of things I like to see is data boxes that give me, the distance to the destination, potentially estimated time of arrival. When I'm training for an event, I like to see data boxes about my speed, so I know what sort of speed I need to be doing to get to the checkpoints in time. But a feature that I really like is something called active route, which means you can mark checkpoints in your device, and at any time you can simply see the distance and how far away a checkpoint is. I'm just going to give you an example of that now. So actually on the device now, I've just loaded the route that I'm going to be doing next weekend. So I'm just moving it around on the screen here. So it's basically this pink line that you can see on the screen. That is the route I'm going to be following. And it's as simple as my blue triangle. As I turn and walk outside, the map will turn with me because I've got it set as track up. And I see myself moving over this pink line. But what I can actually do, and I've set it as a shortcut, I've got a screen called active route, something you actually see on the main menu of your device. So it showed me the distance to the start point. What's really nice, it takes data off the maps and it shows high and low points coming up. But I've actually marked our first checkpoint here. So you can see I've got CVC, which stands for Coquet Valley Challenge, which is the Shepherd's Walks event that I'm taking part in. And it's telling me the checkpoint is 5.99 miles away. So when I start the route, it's 5.99 miles away. I can actually press enter and see where the checkpoint is on the map and zoom in and out on it. So I'm just going to quit out of there. And if I move further down, I've actually marked a summit as well, because I like to see my distance to any summits. So I've marked that as a waypoint, but I can actually see it in this active route. And also there's checkpoint 2 that I've marked as well. So I love the fact you can mark like aid stations, water stations, anything that's of interest to you and you want to see the distance to that point. And of course it's got the end point. Also, I mentioned about data. I've set up my trip computer and made it bespoke to me. So I've actually changed it from the default setting where you have a lot more boxes and made a couple of really big boxes with things that I find more important to myself. So I've got distance to destination and estimated time of arrival as 2 really big boxes. And I've still got other information to do with how long I've been out for, how far I've walked, and I've got some speed boxes. So I like the flexibility of being able to change what you see. You can actually add more pages as well to the data boxes if you really want to see more pages. The final thing with navigation, when I'm actually got a route that I'm following, we maybe don't always want to see the hills that are coming up. But what's nice, if you send a route or track to your device that has been produced on a map with elevation data, we can go to the altimeter screen and then you actually see the elevation of your route. And as you walk along the route, you see this change colour and you see yourself move over the graph. So you know exactly where you are in relation to a hill. And what you've got in the bottom box is a magnified view of where you currently are. So the little red dot would be me at the start of this activity. I'm just going to move the cursor along, and as I move this little red dot along, it's actually moving over the graph at the top, but it's showing you the bigger view that you would see as you're on the various hills. So it's really nice to see what's coming up. I'm just moving that along, and along the top here there's a little line going along to show you where I am. So just move that along, and that's what you sort of see as you move. So I'm just going to quit out of there and quit back to the map page. So that's what I like regarding the navigation. It's as simple as following a pink line. We can use a compass pointer which will point to the closest point on your route or track, but bear in mind with the compass pointer, if you don't get close enough to a point on your route, it can occasionally point backwards, but once you get back onto the route, it will turn back round. It's just if you miss a point out, but I know a lot of customers do like to see the compass pointer, and we can also have data boxes at the top here. It's just a personal choice of mine. I prefer just to see myself on the map, moving across the map and following this pink line. Now, something I do use quite a bit myself, I'm talking about loading a route onto your unit so you've got something to follow. Quite often I'll go out on walks where I've went to somewhere new and I haven't had a chance to plan, which I know is not ideal. I would always recommend, if you can, plan your routes in advance. But I'll just take the device for a walk, or take me for a walk with the device, but I'll start a recording. And as long as you're recording your activity, which gives you all the information about how far you've walked and speed and distance, at any time on the device, I can select to navigate back to the start and follow my breadcrumb trail back to the start. So if I have just wandered out without planning a route and suddenly get a bit disorientated and want to find my way back, I can use the Tracback function. So that's a nice feature that I know a lot of people will use, and it can be a nice safety feature. But generally, I will always try to put a route in the device before I go out. I'm just going to show you one final thing on the map page that I use quite a bit, which I find nice, and then I'm going to move on to the InReach part of it. So you may have noticed mine has this SOS button on the side because it's the 67i, the I version. So I'll talk about why I went for that version and the features I really like and the peace of mind of having the I version. So you can see on here I've got an Ordnance survey map on the screen. We get great battery life on the Garmin. The screen is brilliant to see in bright sunlight. I should have mentioned that it's a trans-reflective screen. It's not a high-definition screen, so we haven't got the high-definition maps that we see on our phone, but I find it perfectly usable, and I really do like to see an Ordnance survey map. But there is times sometimes when I just want to see the pink line a bit clearer, or to be honest, if I'm in more of an urban environment, like the village that we're in at the moment, where you've got lots of buildings, etc., sometimes I find it's easier to turn off the Ordnance survey map and actually use the preloaded European maps. So with this unit, if you are travelling abroad, you get the whole of Europe as Garmin's topoactive maps. Yes, they're not as detailed as an OS map, but if you update to the latest version, which you get for free, it's still a nice map to have in the background. And there's times when I'm walking in Great Britain and I'm following routes, and especially when I come into the towns and villages, I sometimes turn off the Ordnance survey maps. What I've actually done on my own unit, I've actually created a profile that has the maps turned off, because you can make bespoke profiles and decide on those profiles what maps you want to see. For speed, even if I'm halfway through a route and I come into town or village, I can quickly just change my profile, and I've set up a profile where I don't see the Ordnance survey map, but see the slightly lesser detailed Garmin's preloaded topoactive map, which you can now see on the screen. And sometimes it is easier to see your sort of pink magenta line that you're following, but I find this a nice map when you're in an urban environment. So this is just giving you an idea of the map in the village where we are now, and you can see the pink line that I'm going to navigate around. So it's nice that you can switch between maps easily, and the way I've done it is just by creating a profile that says hide the Ordnance survey maps that are on a micro SD card in the side of my unit, and you get this this topoactive map for the whole of Europe on your device. This is the first device that we've got from Garmin where these maps can actually be updated via Wi-Fi. You don't need a computer. And to be honest, to send routes to my device, I normally use the Garmin Connect app. So actually, I don't use a computer an awful lot with this device. It's not really needed. So that's just a little bit about the navigation. So we've talked about the style, the robustness, why I went for this style unit, how I use it for navigation. So I'm just going to mention the SOS tracking now. So I've bought this unit with a where you have to sign up for subscription if you want to use the SOS function. But what it gives me is total peace of mind. There's packages from £12.95 a month. There's a mid package that I'm paying for at the minute, which is approximately £25 a month. But with these packages, anywhere where you've got a satellite signal, if you're in trouble and you need to summons help and you haven't got a mobile signal, we've got an SOS button on the side. And what that SOS button does when I lift the flap and press it in, it sends a message of where you are to a monitoring station that Garmin have in America. And then wherever you are in the world, that message will then come through to the relevant people in the emergency services. Some countries do have embargoes against using two-way satellite communicators, so please look on our frequently asked questions for the product on our website page. But just an example, if I'm in Great Britain and I was to press the SOS button, I could be up a mountain, I could be at a roadside, I could be in a more urban environment, but there's no one around to help me and I haven't got a mobile signal to use my phone. The message basically comes through from the monitoring station to the Coast Guard station in Great Britain, and then they've got all the details about who you are, where you are, and they'll get in touch with the relevant services, whether it be mountain rescue, search and rescue if you're up in a hillside, or police and ambulance if they can see you're next to a road. What's really nice as well, they also turn on tracking with your device. So when you've pressed the SOS button, if you move slightly, maybe to find shelter, they can see your movements to direct the relevant services to where you are. And you will actually get messages on the device updating you and letting you know that the message being received and where you are. If you have got it paired with the Garmin Messenger app on your phone, the messages will also come through on your phone. Regardless of your phone having mobile signal, it's using the Bluetooth pairing with your phone and the handheld device. Thankfully, I've not had to use the SOS button myself, but there's so many places I go walking up in Northumberland where I find there's lots of dead spots and I've got no mobile signal whatsoever, so it's really nice to have that peace of mind. A couple of other things you can do with the InReach service that we often forget about. It's not just about the SOS button. I can send family members that I've set up in the contacts a simple text message. It could be something that you want them to come and meet you, you're not feeling very well, but you don't want to ring emergency services for that, but you've got no mobile signal, so I can send messages via the satellites. The simple check-in messages so family know that you're okay and they can see your location. We can also do tracking as well, so you can set up a website page that you share with family and friends. I do recommend you really need the middle subscription package for the tracking, otherwise you do get charged 10 pence per track point, but I have used the tracking where I'm paying the middle package, and basically every 10 minutes a family member can see on a map where I am, and it's using satellites and not mobile data. So I really do like the InReach side for that peace of mind and not just for the SOS button. To be honest, it's been one of the best units I've owned over the years. I've had many units since some of the early, I think my first unit was something like a Magellan 2000, 24, 25 years ago. I've run through various units. I've had touchscreen units. I've had, different push button units. But I think this has been the best one for me. And I think it really comes down to the battery life for me, the fact I don't really need a computer with it now. I can do everything via the app, so I don't have to pull my computer out. And having that device with the really big battery, but still have this InReach function and all the other functionality, knowing I can go out for many days without having to charge the device. So I hope you found this video useful on just how I've been using the device and just a general talk about some of the functions and features. There's many other features in the device, but that was just to give you a general overview of my use for hiking and trail running. You'll find more information on the product when you go to the gpstraining.co.uk website, and under the GPS store we've got the handheld devices, or we've got the two-way satellite communicators where you'll find the 67i. If you didn't want the InReach function with the subscription and the SOS button, etc., we have the GPSMAP67, which is exactly the same, just without the InReach tracking and SOS button. And remember, if you do purchase a device from ourselves at GPS Training, you get our Gold Support package, which gives you email and telephone support from ourselves for a year and access to many training videos that we've put together on how you get the best out of the unit and using the unit. So I hope you found this video useful, and thanks for watching.